Have you ever felt that strange sensation when someone speaks a truth and something deep within you whispers, "I already knew this"? Not the kind of knowing that comes from books or teachers, but a recognition so profound it feels like your soul just woke up from a long sleep. For years, I searched for the meaning of life in every philosophy book I could find, in every spiritual teacher's words, in ancient texts and modern seminars. I traveled to distant temples, sat in meditation retreats, filled journals with insights I thought were discoveries. And yet, the more I searched, the further the truth seemed to slip away. It was like trying to remember a dream that fades the moment you reach for it. But then something shifted. Not through finding, but through stopping the search. Not through learning more, but through unlearning everything I thought I knew. What if I told you that the meaning of life isn't something to be explained, taught, or discovered, but something to be remembered? What if every ancient tradition, every mystery school, every spiritual path was never about teaching you something new, but about helping you recall what you've always known? MANLYPHALL spent his entire life pointing to this single truth that every seeker eventually faces. The answer isn't out there. It never was. It's inscribed in the deepest chamber of your being, waiting not to be found but to be remembered. In the next few moments, I'm going to share with you why the greatest spiritual journey isn't about accumulation but about recognition. Not about becoming someone new, but about remembering who you've always been. There's a reason why the ancient Greeks didn't call learning, but anamnesis, which means remembering. Plato understood what modern seekers have forgotten. He taught that before we entered these bodies, our souls existed in a realm of pure knowledge, where we understood the nature of truth, beauty, justice, and the fundamental essence of existence itself. Birth, he said, is a kind of forgetting. We pass through the river of forgetfulness, and the shock of incarnation causes amnesia of our true nature. So when a teacher speaks wisdom, they're not pouring new information into an empty vessel. They're holding up a mirror to reflect what the soul already knows. This isn't just poetic philosophy. Every spiritual tradition on earth points to the same truth. The Hindus speak of Atman, the eternal self that exists beyond the illusions of Maya, waiting to be recognized beneath the veils of ignorance. The Buddhists teach that enlightenment isn't about gaining something, but about removing the obscurations that prevent you from seeing your Buddha nature, which was always present. The Christian mystics like Meister Eckhart spoke of the spark of divinity within every soul, not placed there by grace, but eternally existing as your deepest essence. Even the Hermetic tradition, which MANLYPHALL dedicated his life to illuminating, opens with those famous words, "As above, so below." What does this mean? That the macrocosm is reflected in the microcosm, that everything in the universe exists within you, that you're not separate from the cosmic intelligence, you are that intelligence, temporarily pretending to have forgotten. But here's the beautiful paradox that stops most seekers in their tracks. If we already know the truth, why did we forget it in the first place? Why would consciousness intentionally create amnesia about its own nature? The answer reveals the deepest mystery of existence. Forgetting is not a mistake or punishment. It's the necessary condition for the most profound experience possible, the experience of remembering. Imagine if you never forgot who you were. There would be no journey, no discovery, no awakening. The ancient alchemists understood this perfectly. They didn't write about turning lead into gold because they were interested in metallurgy. They were describing the transformation of consciousness from the heavy, dense state of forgetting to the luminous state of remembering. The lead is your current sense of separation and confusion. The gold is the recognition of your true nature. But you can't transform lead into gold without first having lead. You can't wake up without first being asleep. You can't remember without first forgetting. This is why every hero's journey in every mythology follows the same pattern. The hero starts in the ordinary world, crosses a threshold into the unknown, faces trials and challenges, reaches the deepest cave where they confront death itself, and then returns home transformed. But notice what happens at the end. They return home, not to a new place, but to where they started, seeing it now with new eyes. As T.S. Eliot wrote, "We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time." Your life is not a test you need to pass. It's not a lesson you need to learn. It's not a problem you need to solve. Your life is a symbol you need to interpret. Every experience, every relationship, every challenge is a coded message from your deeper self, designed to trigger the remembering. When you lose something you love, it's not random cruelty. It's your soul reminding you not to place your identity in temporary forms. When you fail despite trying your hardest, it's not punishment. It's reality showing you that force and control are illusions, that there's a deeper intelligence orchestrating everything. When you feel that inexplicable loneliness even surrounded by people, it's not depression. It's your soul homesick for its true nature, for that state of unified consciousness before the forgetting began. MANLYPHALL taught that the ancient mystery schools didn't give their initiates new information. They created conditions, rituals, and experiences designed to shock the soul into remembering. The candidate would descend into darkness, face symbolic death, and then be reborn into the light of understanding. Not because the light was absent before, but because the descent made them ready to see what was always there. This is why spiritual awakening often comes not through years of meditation or study, but through crisis, loss, or hitting rock bottom. The structure of forgetting, the edifice of the false self, finally cracks open, and the light that was always shining within suddenly becomes visible. You've probably experienced this in small ways throughout your life. Have you ever been struggling with a problem for hours, completely stuck, and then the moment you let go and stop trying, the solution appears? Have you ever tried desperately to remember someone's name, only to have it pop into your mind the second you stop straining for it? Have you ever noticed that the harder you chase happiness, the more it eludes you? But when you stop chasing, moments of profound peace arrive unbidden. These aren't accidents. They're microcosms of the greatest spiritual principle. You can't force remembering. You can only create the conditions where remembering becomes possible. And the first condition is always the same. Stop trying to become something you're not. Stop trying to achieve some future state of enlightenment. Stop trying to fix, improve, or perfect yourself. Because every ounce of energy you put into becoming is energy that reinforces the illusion that you're not already whole. The ego loves the search because the search confirms that something is missing. The soul loves the remembering because remembering reveals that nothing was ever missing. I'm going to pause here for a moment, because I sense that something important is happening as you listen to these words. Maybe you're feeling that subtle shift in your chest, that quiet recognition that what I'm describing isn't new information, but ancient knowing stirring within you. You've spent so long searching, haven't you? So many books read, so many teachers followed, so many practices attempted, and somewhere deep down there's been this nagging feeling that you're running in circles, that the answer is somehow both impossibly distant and right here in front of you. You're not imagining that feeling. That's your soul trying to get your attention, trying to remind you that you already know what you're looking for. I want you to do something simple but profound right now. Share in the comments. I remember who I truly am. This isn't just a nice phrase. It's a declaration to the universe, a vibrational shift in your consciousness. And something extraordinary happens when we speak truth out loud. First, you acknowledge this knowing in yourself. Second, you create a beacon for countless others who are reading these comments right now. People who thought they were alone in this feeling of searching for something they can't quite name. Your comment might be exactly what someone needs to see today. The confirmation that they're not crazy, that this longing to remember is real and shared by many. So please, share now. This small act of courage could be the first crack in the shell of forgetting, not just for you but for everyone who will be touched by your words. Let me take you deeper into what this remembering actually means. When the mystics speak of enlightenment, when the sages speak of liberation, when the philosophers speak of truth, they're all pointing to a single moment of recognition, not a new experience, but a shift in perspective so total that everything changes while nothing changes. It's like spending your whole life watching shadows on a cave wall, as Plato described, and then suddenly turning around to see the fire casting those shadows. The shadows don't disappear. The cave doesn't transform, but your understanding of reality completely revolutionizes because you now see the source. Before remembering, you think you are your thoughts. You identify with the endless stream of mental chatter, the voice that narrates your life, judges everything, plans the future, regrets the past. You think you are your emotions. When sadness comes, you say, I am sad. When anger arises, you say, I am angry. You think you are your body. When it feels pleasure, you feel pleasure. When it experiences pain, you experience pain. You think you are your story, the accumulation of memories, experiences, successes, and failures that make up your personal history. But what happens in the moment of remembering? You recognize that you are the awareness in which all of these arise. You're not the thoughts. You're the space in which thoughts appear and disappear. You're not the emotions. You're the conscious presence that witnesses emotions flowing through like weather patterns. You're not the body. You're the eternal witness that observes the body's birth, life, and inevitable death. You're not your story. You're the unchanging awareness in which all stories unfold. The ancient Vedantic texts captured this in a simple phrase, Tat Tvam Asi. Thou art that. You are not a separate individual consciousness trapped in a body, looking out at a foreign universe. You are the universe itself, temporarily localized into this specific point of view, playing the most elaborate game of hide-and-seek with itself. God, source, consciousness, whatever word we use for the ultimate reality, it wanted to experience itself. But you can't experience yourself if there's only yourself to experience. So consciousness created the illusion of separation. It fractured itself into infinite points of awareness, each one thinking it's separate, each one on a journey back to recognizing its true nature. You are that process happening right now. Not a person having spiritual experiences, not a body with a soul, but infinite consciousness dreaming that it's a limited person, gradually waking up to its true identity. This is why genuine spiritual awakening is always accompanied by a sense of humor. Once you remember, you realize the cosmic joke. All that suffering, all that searching, all those years of trying to become enlightened, and you were that which you sought all along. The seeker was the sought. The question was the answer. The journey was always a circle, leading you right back to where you've always been. Now you might be thinking, if this is true, why do I still feel so lost? Why do I still experience confusion, pain, and limitation? This is the crucial point where many seekers get stuck. They have an intellectual understanding of these truths, maybe even a brief glimpse of their true nature, but then they return to ordinary consciousness and nothing seems to have changed. Here's what they miss. Remembering is not a one-time event. It's a continuous process, a constant returning. You don't remember once and then live happily ever after in permanent enlightenment. The forgetting is so deeply ingrained, so intricately woven into the fabric of human consciousness, that remembering must happen again and again. This is why every spiritual tradition emphasizes practice, not as a means to achieve something in the future, but as a way to return to the present moment where remembering is possible. Meditation isn't about reaching some special state. It's about recognizing the awareness that's already here, that's always here, regardless of what's happening in your mind or body. Prayer isn't about asking a separate God for favors. It's about remembering your connection to the source of all existence. Contemplation isn't about figuring things out intellectually. It's about creating space for the truth to reveal itself from within. The Sufi mystics have a beautiful teaching about this. They say that the spiritual path is like polishing a mirror. The mirror is your consciousness. The reflection of God's face is always shining on it. But over time, the mirror gets covered with dust. The dust of conditioning, beliefs, traumas, and forgetting. Spiritual practice isn't about creating the reflection. It's about removing the dust, so the reflection that was always there can be seen clearly. Every moment of awareness is a moment of polishing. Every time you catch yourself lost in thought and return to presence, you're removing a layer of dust. Every time you choose love over fear, openness over defense, presence over past or future, you're clearing the mirror. And gradually, imperceptibly, the reflection becomes clearer. Not because you're creating something new, but because you're revealing what was always there. MANLYPHALL wrote extensively about the symbolism found in all mystery traditions. The lotus growing from mud, the phoenix rising from ashes, the caterpillar transforming into a butterfly. These aren't just pretty nature metaphors. They're describing the alchemical process of consciousness remembering itself. The mud, the ashes, the caterpillar stage, these represent the state of forgetting, of being trapped in limited identity. But notice something crucial. The lotus doesn't reject the mud. It needs the mud to grow. The phoenix doesn't avoid the fire. It requires the fire for rebirth. The caterpillar doesn't skip the chrysalis stage. The apparent death in the cocoon is necessary for transformation. In the same way, your current state of limitation, confusion, and seeking is not a mistake to be corrected. It's a necessary stage in the process of remembering. The forgetting is not your enemy. It's your teacher. Every limitation you experience is showing you where you've identified with something temporary, something less than your true nature. Every suffering is a call to remember. Every challenge is an invitation to recognize the awareness that remains unchanged, regardless of what's happening in your experience. Here's the deepest secret that MANLYPHALL and all true spiritual teachers eventually point toward. There's nothing you need to do to remember. In fact, every action you take to try to remember is actually reinforcing the forgetting. Because trying to remember implies that there's someone separate who needs to remember something separate that they don't currently have. But that's the fundamental illusion. The one who seeks is the one who has forgotten. The moment you recognize this, the seeking dissolves, and what remains is what you've always been. This is why the highest teachings in every tradition eventually point to surrender, to letting go, to being rather than doing. Not because passivity is the goal, but because in the space of surrender, the doer is revealed to be an illusion, and what remains is pure, aware presence, your true nature. You are the silence between thoughts. You are the space in which experiences arise. You are the unchanging witness of all change. You are the consciousness that illuminates all experience, but is itself never an object of experience. You are, quite literally, the light of awareness that makes everything visible, including the sense of being a separate self. The moment you truly recognize this, not intellectually but experientially, everything shifts. Not that your circumstances change. You might still have the same job, the same relationships, the same challenges, but your relationship to everything changes. Where there was resistance, there's now acceptance. Where there was fear, there's now peace. Where there was seeking, there's now resting. Where there was incompleteness, there's now wholeness. And paradoxically, this is when your life begins to transform in ways the seeking mind could never orchestrate. Because you're no longer acting from lack, trying to get something you don't have. You're acting from fullness, expressing what you are. This is the true meaning of living in alignment that everyone speaks about. It's not about following some external formula or technique. It's about remembering your true nature and allowing life to flow through you as you, no longer obstructed by the false sense of a separate doer trying to control outcomes. The universe is not something happening to you. You are not a passive recipient of random events. You are the universe expressing itself through this particular form, this specific perspective. Every moment of your life is the cosmic intelligence exploring itself, knowing itself, remembering itself through your eyes. When you look at a sunset and feel beauty, that's the universe appreciating its own beauty. When you feel love for another person, that's the universe loving itself. When you experience the longing to remember, that's the universe calling itself home. Nothing is separate, nothing is other. The whole play of existence, the dance of forgetting and remembering, separation and union, seeking and finding, it's all one movement of consciousness exploring itself. And right now, in this moment, as you read or hear these words, the remembering is happening. Not in the future, not as a result of some practice you need to do, but now, because consciousness never actually forgot. Only consciousness identified as a separate self can forget. And that separate self was always an appearance within consciousness. Never something real, never something that could actually obscure the truth of what you are. This might sound abstract, but it's the most practical teaching you'll ever receive. Because once you begin to remember, even slightly, even momentarily, your entire approach to life transforms. You stop trying to force outcomes. You stop resisting what is. You stop believing that you need to become someone different to be happy. And in that stopping, a natural intelligence emerges. Not the intelligence of the thinking mind, but the intelligence of life itself, flowing through you without obstruction. This is what the Taoists called Wu Wei, effortless action. Not laziness or passivity, but action that flows from being rather than trying. This is what the Buddhists called right action, not action based on attachment to outcomes, but action that spontaneously arises from clear seeing. This is what the Christians called grace. Not something bestowed from outside, but the natural expression of consciousness operating without the interference of the separate self. And so I return to where we began. The meaning of life cannot be explained because any explanation creates a subject and an object, a knower and a known, a teacher and a student, all of which reinforce the illusion of separation. The meaning of life can only be remembered because remembering dissolves the separation. It reveals that the one seeking meaning and the meaning itself were never two. You are the meaning you've been searching for. Your existence is not a puzzle to be solved, but a mystery to be lived. And the deepest mystery is that you are not in life. Life is in you. You are not experiencing consciousness. You are consciousness experiencing itself as you. This recognition doesn't come through accumulating more knowledge. It comes through releasing what you think you know, through allowing the false self to dissolve like mist in the morning sun, revealing what was always here, what you've always been, what you can never not be. If something within you stirred while hearing these words, if you felt that subtle recognition in the depths of your being, don't let this moment slip away. This isn't just another video you stumbled upon accidentally. The fact that you're here now receiving these words is part of the remembering process itself. Nothing is random. Every moment is a call home. If you're tired of the endless seeking, tired of trying to become someone different, tired of believing that happiness exists somewhere in the future or somewhere outside yourself, this channel exists as a space of returning, not to offer you new techniques or practices to add to your spiritual collection, but to simply reflect back to you what you already are. To hold up a mirror so you can see your own face, your true face, that existed before you were born and will remain after this body returns to Earth. When you subscribe, you're not just following content, you're declaring your willingness to remember, your readiness to see through the illusion of separation. Each video here serves as a gentle reminder, a doorway back to presence, back to the awareness that you are and have always been. Turn on notifications, not because we need the views, but because these messages have a way of arriving exactly when your soul needs to hear them. There are no coincidences in consciousness. That video that appears in your feed at 3 a.m. when you can't sleep, when you're questioning everything, is often exactly the mirror you needed in that moment. Share this with someone you sense is on the edge of remembering, someone who might be going through their own dark night of the soul, their own moment of questioning everything they thought they knew. Sometimes all we need is one perspective, one reflection, one reminder to shift everything. And remember, you are never alone in this. We are many, walking together, remembering together what it means to live as consciousness, rather than as the limited self. Until we meet again, allow yourself to simply be. Not to fix, not to improve, not to become, just to be what you already are. Rest in that. The seeking was beautiful, but the finding is in the stopping. You are already home. You always were. You always will be.